occurs to me this would be a good crowd to flash the lights for, but we can't do that. Here our lights are under construction. Good evening, everyone, and a very, very, very deep welcome to Alice Millar Chapel here at Northwestern University. My name is Reverend Kristen Glass-Perez, and it's my great privilege to serve here as University Chaplain. And it's a greater privilege to be with you all this evening as we gather to celebrate the life of Dawn. I want to give special thanks to Cindy Gold, who worked tirelessly on this service, and I know has invited probably most of you to be here. So my deep gratitude and thanks to Cindy, who has been working all summer on this. And again, I extend a deep welcome to all of you. Just a couple of procedural notes. There are restrooms out either of the side exits if you need those. There are also programs for this service tonight. If you did not get one, there are some in the back, really the front entrance, but in back of you now, or some up here in the front pews. If you need a program, please feel free to come and get one. Immediately after the service, everyone is invited to a reception here in Parks Hall. The easiest way to get to the reception will be to exit on that side and go down the hallway, and you will encounter the reception. You could also go out this way and take a right on the second right. I think those are all of the, oh no, I do have one more announcement, that at the reception there are many wonderful pictures of Dawn on some display boards, and you are invited to leave a note or a memory on those boards as well. As we begin this evening, I will start with a short poem by Renata Suzuki. Your memory feels like home to me, so whenever my mind wanders, it always finds its way back to you. As we begin this memorial for Dawn, we will share memories and stories and find our way home together.
My name is Mary Cool. I taught with Dawn for a long time. It took me a long time to find a poem that I felt somehow illuminated the complex and lovely woman that our good friend was. And I was sort of at my wit's end. I'd gone through all the moderns and all the contemporaries. And so I went to the shelf and I picked up my freshman poetry book. And I thought, oh, it's full of old poems. Terrible. And I came to one and I thought, okay. And I thought, this is a poem I've never really understood. And as I read it, thinking of Dawn, it brought the poem to life. She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. That is She Walks in Beauty by George Gordon, Lord Byron. And for me, Dawn was so much about beauty and grace. Even in her most casual moments, it was beauty and grace. But she was also a tough cookie, I'm pleased to say. And she was a powerful lady, and she was what my grandmother called saucy. So this is my tribute to that side of our friend. I had a little sorrow, born of a little sin. I found a room all damp with gloom and shut us all within. And little sorrow, weep, I said, and little sin, pray God to die, and I upon the floor will lie and think how bad I've been. Alas, for pious planning, it mattered not a whit. As far as gloom went in that room, the lamp might have been lit. My little sorrow would not weep, my little sin would go to sleep. To save my soul, I could not keep my graceless mind on it. So I got up in anger and took a book I had and put a ribbon on my hair to please a passing lad. And one thing there's no getting by, I've been a wicked girl, said I. But if I can't be sorry, I might as well be glad.
Our colleague, our friend, our mother, our grandmother. Dawn Mora was 79 years old, going on 40. That's one of the reasons her passing seems a bit unfair. But I am comforted by the fact that Dawn lived 79 years doing exactly what Dawn wanted to do. Devoting herself to her family, building meaningful friendships, and teaching students about acting. On stage as a movement director, Dawn loved to incorporate slow motion movements, but off stage, Dawn's spirit danced for life. I met Dawn in 1983 when she joined the acting faculty. My first impression? Wow, what a glamorous woman. perfectly applied makeup, big hair, big smile, big bosom. We had nothing in common. What we did have in common was a love for learning and a passion for creative exploration. And we both taught acting. Back in the 80s, Dawn and I took long walks along the Lakeville, talking about our shortcomings as teachers, and trying to find ways to help our students create Greek tragedy. She'd look at me and say something like, "Annie, why can't the girls understand the Dean's anger? Jason left her with 2 children for another woman." And I responded with something like, "I don't know, Dawn. I'm trying to figure out how to transform our short, skinny boys into ball-busting Greek warriors." Look at you, that combo. At that time, Dawn and I were also struggling with our own marriages. So we decided to distract ourselves from all the turmoil and direct a play together. We chose Medea. 2 angry acting teachers directing Medea. Over 150 girls flocked to those auditions, and just 7 boys. When the auditions ended, though, Dawn turned and said to me, "Annie, we only need 7. Over the following 14 years, we collaborated on dozens of productions. Our friendship was also evolving. We talked together a lot, during long dinners, shopping excursions, and going to the theater. We saw numerous shows produced by the Chicago International Theater Festival, inspiring us to learn more about the innovative directors, Tadashi Suzuki, Ariane Yanushkin, Peter Brook. We took theater trips to New York one time just to see a production of Hamlet directed by Peter Brook. After the show ended, we sat in our seats, talking, until the ushers told us we had to leave. As we got up, I saw 2 people walk into the theater. "Dawn, look, it's Peter Brook." "Annie, we have to meet him." Dawn leapt from her seat and I followed. 2 middle-aged women rushing towards the poor man, like we were auditioning for the part of Nina from the scene. But Mr. Brook shook our hands appreciatively and offered his sincere encouragement. After he was escorted away, we looked at each other and made a pact. We will never wash our hands again. Dawn and I also took annual summer trips to Canada's Shakespeare Festival. 9 shows in 7 days, with long dinners, lots of shopping, and more talking. Some years we took our graduating senior classes, and sometimes we went with our colleague and friend, Virgil Johnson. One summer, the 3 of us saw a highly entertaining production of a restoration play called The School for Scandal, with characters named Lady Sneerwell and Sir Benjamin Backwhite. Afterwards, while having some post-show cocktails, as Virgil called them, Dawn immediately began making up restoration names for all the theater faculty. Lucky for you, I don't remember most of them. But I do remember that night was the first night she and I started to refer to Virgil as Sir Virgil. We gave Dawn the nickname of Mistress Nicety. And they named me Lady Rigidity. It was very accurate. Dawn and I took our last Stratford trip in 2019. By the summer of 2020, the pandemic had arrived, and their season was canceled. The past year has been difficult for everyone. But you know what? Dawn and I had a fabulous time. In August 2020, Dawn had sold her home in Chicago and we decided to rent a house in Buffalo, Michigan, where I live. Hunkering down in the country during the pandemic, we felt like characters in a play, written, of course, by our favorite playwright, Anton Chekhov. Within weeks, Dawn knew everyone in town. She told me all about Joanne, who works at the grocery store and just had a hip replacement. And then she told me about Mike, who she really liked, plowed her driveway every week. He lived in the country with a wife, 6 kids, 3 dogs, and a goat. We wandered through antique stores and bought snuggly blankets at Target for her grandchildren's visit. We spent Friday evenings drinking wine and eating pizza and talking for hours about how the hell we were going to teach acting online. One beautiful winter day, Dawn called me, brimming with excitement. Hey! There are deer in my yard, and squirrels and birds and rabbits. I feel like I'm in a Disney movie. Dawn lived her final year full of life and still loving her job as a teacher in Northwestern State Department. She loved working with all of our colleagues. Too many to name, but here are a few special ones I think to her. Co-directing Chicago Showcase with Henry and Gail, choreographing Shakespeare dances for Linda Gates, collaborating on new theater projects with Dominic and Billy, and creating beautiful imagery with her favorite designers, Linda Ruthke, Joe Appelt, and of course, Savannah. Don Mora went out of her way to make sure people knew how much she cared about them. And Cindy Gold, I hope you know how much Dawn would appreciate your efforts to create this wonderful celebration. Actually, I think Dawn would probably be grateful to all of us for having played even a small part in her 79 years of life. I will close with one of her favorite sayings. If you find yourself walking on thin ice, you might as well dance. I'm pretty sure Dawn's spirit is still dancing somewhere.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I was one of Dawn's students. I'm singing Rainbow by Casey Musgraves, and I'm performing with Dr. Ryan T. Nelson. When it rains, it pours, but you didn't need
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming together today to celebrate the life of Don Mora. I'm Patrick Johnson, Dean of the School of Communication. I apologize that I could not be there with you today, but know that I'm thinking of Dawn and all the lives she touched and changed during her remarkable career at Northwestern. I knew Dawn for 20 of her 40 years in the school and had the pleasure of witnessing the profound impact she had on her students. Only weeks before she passed away, she was making plans to return to campus to see her students in person to celebrate their accomplishments in the classes she was teaching on Zoom. "I gotta see my kids one more time before I retire," she told me. She enveloped them with her unique brand of loving, honest, no-nonsense support. She knew all the right ways to lift them up, show them their voices matter, and send them off to crush a scene or audition with a newfound swagger. And speaking of swag, no one did it like Dawn. She was truly one of a kind. Classy, brassy, funny, and the best-natured diva you'd ever had the pleasure to meet. She cared so deeply about her students, but also her colleagues. In one of my several conversations with her about her impending retirement, she kept referring to me as sweet, sweetheart, Dawn, and then apologizing by saying, "I know I'm probably not supposed to call you that, but you're so damn cute." I just looked at her and told her she could call me anything she wanted. Dawn never met a stranger, and that came through with each and every interaction she had with her colleagues. She was committed to being radically present with herself, her work, and her young actors. I think it's common for students when arriving at Northwestern to look forward to finding lifelong friends, business partners, and even spouses. It tends to take students by surprise when they find a faculty member whose capacious presence lingers well after they graduate. Dawn was that pleasant surprise to so many of you. She helped you launch your careers, shape your creative voice, choose the bold path, and make an exit that no one can forget. And she won't be forgotten. Again, thank you all for gathering to celebrate Dawn's memory. Be well.
I'm Guy Ponco, and I have to tell you, it's been a long time since I've been in a church. First, I want to thank Mora, the Mora family, and the organizers of this gathering, and offer my deepest gratitude. Allow me to say just a few words regarding Dawn, my teacher, my mentor, and my friend. I met Dawn in 1986 as a student enrolled in her acting class. As we all know, Dawn didn't just teach acting. She taught life, she taught love, compassion. She created an environment where young people can explore who they are as young artists and as developing human beings. She created a safe space, and she fostered her students to respect and support one another. Recollecting, I have many memories of Dawn, but I keep going back to this one memory from 1989, my senior year, that I'd like to share. Anne and Dawn decided to collaborate on the production of Medea. It was experimental in nature, performed in the Wallace Black Box Theater, and it was in the round. I was asked to choreograph and assist with movement. Dawn tasked me with creating an opening piece that depicted the intensity of Jason and Medea's passion. I would dance the role of Jason, and my partner Carrie, she would dance the role of Medea. I went all in. Each week, or maybe every other day, we were asked to present what we came up with. Now, I'm probably exaggerating here, but I think I started off and brought some huge 6-minute extravagant number. And each time I started to show the piece, we were asked to go back to the drawing board and refine it, pare it down. This was the beginning where Dawn started to teach me the joy and the understanding of process. Each time I would present, again, I would be asked to cut it more and more, remove the fluff, pare it down, until only the essence of passion remained. It was exhausting, challenging, and frustrating. This continued all the way until final dress rehearsal, and now probably a mere 90 seconds. After that last dress rehearsal, the night before opening, nearing midnight, Dawn and Anne asked me to see them play. I knew, or I felt, that they were going to cut the number, and I was not looking forward to the discussion. We went upstairs to the TI building. Dawn looked nervous, but also a tad devious. Something wasn't right. Something was not good. And they wanted the number to stay, but something was missing from it. And that something was our clothes. Around. That entire creative process was the beginning, the transformation from student to peer, and eventually led to my artistic partnership and beloved friendship. Following graduation, together we collaborated on movement for, namely, as I Hamlet, Iphigenia, Carmen, the Seagull, Hecuba, Melania. I worked with Dawn on her movement for the actor video, The Boy Who Could Not Fly. I guest taught movement with her inside Northwestern and outside of Northwestern. And together we created a rock musical extravaganza based on Dante's Divine Comedy called Transcendence. That show was developed over years of many meetings, many lunches, many phone calls, many, many, many glasses of wine, and tons of laughter. Oh my God, we just laughed. The collaboration we had was something so special. We were of the same mind. The love we had together and the love of creating together is beyond any words I can say. We made several attempts to sell it to Vegas casinos, to no avail. And we always went back to the drawing board, tweaking it in ways to fit into other possibilities. Our friendship bloomed during that time. We shared everything together, our personal lives, our passions, and grew an everlasting bond. Throughout, Dawn never wavered from who she always was. A loving, caring, and fun person. So to pare things down, she was pure soul, pure joy. She was the embodiment of love, spirit, and earth. And I will miss her deeply.
My name is John Thomas. I'm on the faculty at Northwestern, as we all. And I would just like to thank Cindy Gold right up front for putting this together. I'd like to thank Peter Anderson, who's doing all of our reading. And I'd like to thank all of these beautiful students who are not going to look in the eye for being here. I was one of Dawn's students, and friends, and colleagues, and the person who she did not shy away from coming in to dish in the mornings, and it's been really wonderful to hear all of these stories. When picking a song for this moment, I thought immediately of the last song she heard me sing, and how appropriate it would be for this occasion. Yeah.
With a great deal of reflection, I have thought often about Dawn throughout my life, and particularly with that new word since this summer. Until recently, I've never spoken about my relationship with Dawn or shared what I hold dearly in my heart about her. In doing so today, it is to honor her in all the ways that she's impacted and shaped my life. I met Dawn 50 years ago, even before Abe was around. And although I honestly don't remember how or when I met Dawn, I do know why. And I know it was during a time and under circumstances that were probably confusing and conflicting for the 5-year-old me. What transpired, and it was never confusing from the initial meeting, was a lifelong and cherished relationship with Dawn. Dawn was my stepmother, yet that title doesn't capture the essence of our relationship. I never thought of or referred to her as my stepmother because that wasn't part of my vocabulary and felt diminishing or somehow made her less important in my life. It's unfortunate that the people in our lives who have influence and shape who we become are often taken for granted. I will admit, while I love Dawn, I took for granted how much she meant to me and how much she gave. Dawn was a constant person in my life, a mom to someone who wasn't her own child, yet who sincerely loved me unconditionally, who had no sharp edges, who always encouraged and supported me, and whom I spent weekends endlessly laughing with, because Dawn did have the best laugh. Dawn welcomed me graciously and without hesitation into her own family. She showed me the world through a different lens than the one I knew, and she even convinced a very uncoordinated runner to become a dancer for a summer at her aunt camp. A very comical and yet rewarding memory that will always make me smile. And I don't dance. Dawn was the mom I could talk to openly and honestly about judgment or insecurity, and she listened with thoughtfulness, care, and compassion. Dawn indulged, reassured, and encouraged every creative idea, big or small, that I wanted to pursue. And Dawn has been every bit a mom to me when and as I needed her. When she and my dad divorced, I felt a profound loss. But she never shut me out, and as I grew older, she gave me space, watched, and stood by as I distanced myself and became involved in my own adult life. As time went by, and we moved into an adult relationship, I came to better understand, truly appreciate, and fully recognize that Dawn would always stand in my corner. She always genuinely loved me, and would continue to be a constant positive force in my life. I don't take for granted how lucky I am, and how, in some karma, cosmic way of Dawn, that she would understand it. I know how blessed I am that Dawn was and will always be part of my life. I feel like a little seedling tree that flourished, bloomed, and grew, albeit not into a very tall tree, from the warmth and love Dawn gave me. I am a better kind of person most of the time, sometimes not with my daughter, because Dawn and her generous spirit will continue to guide me in ways and moments that I will take time to notice more and fully appreciate. Dawn looked to the future cheerfully and with joy, and I will carry that with her as well. To Dawn, I hope I thanked you enough along the way, and I hope you always knew that you were a woman of valor to me. And maybe every child should grow up with two moms if one of them is as special as Dawn.
I have to say, Cindy, what Kat and I got some tough acts to follow. We'll do our best. So there are many words that came to mind when trying to write this and describe my mother. I wanted to share some of the things about her parenting and stories. Since we all have heard all the bad news stories and what a fabulous teacher she was for years. So the three words that popped into my mind immediately were laughter, celebration, and giving. Her smile and laugh were infectious. If she were here today, she would say, "Turn up the music and let's dance." One of the last conversations I had with her was in the hospital, and she leaned over. She was tired in bed, but she wanted to tell me this story. So she said, when the paramedics were at my house, they asked me who the president was, to see how coherent it was. And she looked at me and smiled and said, "I told him Justin Bieber." She thought that was hilarious. That was really the last conversation we had. She told a joke. She laughed, and I think lightened the mood, probably more for me than for anything. She loved to laugh. She had a background in comedy. For those of you that aren't familiar with her acting background, she had, many of her students know her as the professor of Love Meisner in Greek tragedy, but she did have a love of comedy. She worked in New York City, Second City in the 60s. When I was about 9 or 10, she took me to Coronado Beach for the summer. And she was performing in a local theater with her friends, a show called Flea in the Ear. And I recall it was a comedy, I don't recall much, but it was a comedy about a house of prostitution in France. She liked to tease me. I was only 9 or 10, but she liked to tease me and tell me that I had a lot of crushes on a lot of the actresses, but I was about 10. But she thought it was fun. I learned many things from my mother, but she really embodied this idea of celebration. And when I say celebration, I don't mean go out and party just to celebrate. It was a celebration of life, a celebration, new things, exploring, adventure, living in the moment. As a child, she took me to California every year for 6 months of the year to be with her mother and her brother. That was basically 6 months of fun in the sun for us. Preparing for Christmas, spending time with family, and lots of celebration. I believe she did this to be with her family, but I also believe a lot of this was for me. I believe she wanted me to have the experience of being away from the city, hiking, being in the desert, playing outside, which we couldn't do in the loop. We were celebrating life with friends and family. At some point years ago, I took up salsa dancing as a hobby. I would frequent nightclubs here. She found out about that. Do you think she was going to let me do that without her? So I, of course, invited her, and she, of course, accepted. And she did it to celebrate again. Celebrate her love of music, celebrate her love of dance. And she picked it up immediately and made us all look bad. And had many men in the nightclub chasing her around for a dance. At some point, she started asking me if I wanted to go with her to the Drake Hotel with her friends. She started frequenting the Drake Hotel one night a week, and they had music and dance. And I was usually the stick in the mud who would say, "Oh, I'm tired, I just got home from work." She was 40 years older than me going out dancing. And I'll share a quick story that someone shared at the funeral. One of her students said, it was a similar story. She said that her and her friends were talking to my mom about some club or some dance club that they went to near the campus. And my mom replied, "I love that place. I've been there a lot." They thought that was great. So now that she's no longer here or an active employee, I think I can say this without getting her into trouble. She may have been known to celebrate with students on occasion. She became friends with many of her students over the years, and they continued to celebrate life even after graduation. She was more than a teacher. She was a mentor, a friend, to really anyone that allowed her. her to be celebrating certainly kept her looking and feeling. The other word that comes to mind is giving. And I don't mean in the monetary sense, I mean giving of love. Though I'm probably biased, he was probably the most giving person I've ever met. Whether it be family, grandkids, friends, students, colleagues, she loved them dearly. Many students have commented on her tough love. She was elegant and glamorous, but she had a tough side. She said it was her Irish background. She also had a soft, loving, nurturing side. She loved her family, her kids, her grandkids, more than can be measured. It was unconditional love and support. I think if you asked any of her family here today, they would agree with that. So, no matter how stupid I was as a teenager, dumb antic I brought home, she loved and supported me. Never judged, criticized. May not have always been happy, but she loved and supported me. Before she became a teacher, she was an actress. She took another job in San Diego where we would go back for the summer. Again, she did these things to give me opportunities, and I think it was as important to her to provide that experience to me as it was for her to act. Years ago, I was competing in a boxing tournament. She and my father were in attendance. My father is a bit more conservative in nature, for those of you who don't. And I remember in between rounds hearing, "Kill him, baby! Kill him, baby!" Everyone that knows Dawn knows she's far from violent, but she was supportive. And a bit competitive. She was encouraging and pushing me to be better, always, giving whatever she could to support, whether she liked it or not. I'll wrap up with this. I recently read a quote that said something to the effect that it's not what you've accomplished in your life that defines your career. It's the obstacles you overcome. If you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. My mom was so very fortunate to have found that and understood it. Teaching wasn't about making money for her, or prestige, or awards. It was about inspiring and giving back. So I just, in conclusion, like to say thank you to Northwestern for giving her that platform to inspire, to teach, to give, to celebrate with others throughout her almost 4-year career. This institution allowed her to fulfill her goals and not work a day in her life. Thank you to everyone who put this together as well. We greatly appreciate it. I have one insertion into the lineup. My uncle, who was, they were like, twins, the two of them, he's a pod. He could not be here, so he wrote something very short, and our friend Danielle Bruce is going to read that. Thank you.
When the universe takes the leading lady, the theater goes dark. And so it did for many when Don Mora left our play. Maybe it was foul play by God. It sure seemed like unnecessary roughness for Dawn and for those of us who lost her. But I guess we cannot make a foul call against God. It will always rate as the biggest mystery of my life and the meanest scene I ever lived through, especially after 80 magnificent years playing brother to the best and most beautiful leading lady and sister God ever made. Dawn's favorite perfume was Fleur de Sol by Escada. Well, she was that for me, the flower of the sun. And I know for many others, as she always brought warmth and wisdom and the wisdom of the universe to our lives. Dawn cherished, spoiled, and nurtured her friends, students, family, and her enemies. And she never left anyone behind, even her foes. She won them all and brought us all forward to a better place. We can always be grateful to God for bringing that magnificent creature into our lives and for what was the best of times. And for Northwestern for giving Dawn a platform from which to shine. I pray that God will take as good of care of her as she did all of us, her brother Bill Barnes.
A deep and profound thanks to all who have shared this evening. A reminder that all are invited to a reception immediately after the service, and there will be food and beverages at the reception, and you may have your mask off when you are eating your meal. We will close now with a blessing that will include some time for silence. A blessing of memory by Jan Richardson. You were born remembering this blessing. It has never not been with you, weaving itself daily through the threads of each story, each dream, each word you spoke or received, everything you hoped, each person you loved. All that you lost with astonishing sorrow, all that you welcomed with unimagined joy. I tell you, you bear this blessing in your bones. But if the day should come when you can no longer bring this blessing to mind, we will hold it for you. We will remember it for you. And when the time comes, we will breathe this blessing to you at the last, as you are gathered into the place where all that has been lost finds its way back to you, where all memory returns to you, where you know yourself unforgotten and entirely welcomed home. We remember Dawn. And all those who loved her. In Chicago, in Evanston, in St. Louis, in New Buffalo, in California, anywhere and everywhere in our world. Remember that you, like Dawn, are deeply loved and valued. As we end our time together, let us actively work to build a future where love and caring hold space for grief and beauty. And may Dawn's life and memory be a blessing. Go now in peace.